Okay, so we are back, and this is the main topic. I'm going to review the Wheat Waffles. I forgot the name. The three tiers of men, which are you video. So let's get started. Ignore that sidebar over there. And let's go.
I believe there
Lord.
are three tiers of men, and to test this theory, before starting the video, I want you to play this quick game.
We
One by
got
one,
games.
male faces are going to appear on the screen here, and
Okay.
you have to decide which category of
Let's do it.
attractiveness they fall into,
Let's
either
go.
sub 5, normie, or Chad. They'll
Hold on, it's a little loud. I don't like that British voice. Is it British or English? Like, I don't know. That accent always annoyed me. Hold up.
be 15
I'm sorry.
faces in total. So
Okay.
let's start. 1,
Okay. I got this. Chad. Hey.
2,
Okay. Sub 5. Look, I've seen this before, but I don't remember any of these faces. I haven't seen this video in a long time, so I'm not cheating. I haven't seen it in forever. And it's gonna be like this. And look, it's gonna be the same as it was when I first tried to play along months ago.
3,
Sub 5. Oh
4,
wow. Okay. I'm already fucking up. I got it. Sub 5. Oh yeah, I was a little late.
5,
Sub 5. Is everybody sub 5 to me?
6,
Chad. Tyrone, actually. Come on, it's obvious.
7,
Normie. Easily Normie. Look at that neck,
8,
that pencil neck. Who? Normie. Okay.
9,
Chad, come on now. Look at those eyes.
10,
Sub 5. Oh man. Brazilian man.
11,
Sub 5.
12,
Normie. That's very average. Very average.
13.
Low level normie. Chad. Light beard. Chad cut.
14,
Ooh. Ooh, okay. Gotta be Normie. Cause if the second guy is Normie, this guy's right there with him. Okay.
and 15.
Chad. Okay, so I only got one wrong. I only got one off. The second, but look, he's borderline. So if you mess up that hair a little bit, I'm telling you.
So, did you get all of them right? I could have carried on doing
14 out of
that all
15.
day. I think when the categories are broken down as simple as this, it all just becomes so obvious. And this doesn't just apply to men, because here are the categories for women as well. Again,
great.
fairly clean cut.
Hold up. I'm looking at that. I'm looking at the brown girl, second row, second to the right. That looks like the kind of like cute, quote unquote wholesome black girl I would have had a crush on in high school or something.
Anyway, I'm going to explain the main content of the video now,
Let's
which
go.
is breaking down exactly how
Oh yeah,
I believe
fair use. Don't sue me, Wheat Waffles. I'm promoting you, man. Shit, don't sue me. Fair use.
each distinct group interacts with all of the others within the dating market. And I do want to warn you, there will be a lot of generalizations being made here. So before you think of any criticisms, at least see through these next 2 minutes so I can completely get my points across.
All right.
Anyway, my first analysis is 1. The guys at the top of the pyramid, the so-called Chads, they have complete control over the whole of the top tier and mid-tier women. A lot
That's a bold claim. But he did say that he was going to generalize. But I think generally speaking that is true, because really who else is having access to the most beautiful, attractive women other than the most beautiful, attractive, successful men, right? And then it's not as if like the women in the middle are gonna be like, no, those I don't want those shafts. They're gonna be more than open to dating those types of guys. And I think that, and we've talked about this before, but the difference between men and women tends to be that men tend to be more willing to date down and across, whereas women usually want to date across and up. Like, look at those girls down there in the Stacy category, so to speak, right? Could you really imagine them looking at the guys in the middle? Could you imagine them looking at any of those guys in the middle and being like, okay, yeah, right, I want to date this fool, right? Even the girls in the second row, it's like, maybe like, okay, let me see that Asian one, you know how they feel about white guys, so she might she might be the exception, but God.
Lots of these guys aren't settling down as they have an abundance of both one-night stand options and friends with benefits coming from these two tiers. I also want to point out that most of these options are sourced from online dating apps. If you haven't realised by now, it is these top 10 to 15% guys who are...
And see, this is what I'm talking about. Look at how he brings up the evidence and the facts, right? He doesn't just say it. He brings up a screenshot of a Chad Tinder account to back it up, right? And I think that's what makes him such a good black pillar, right? He ain't just up here talking shit. He always brings up, charts. He always got some type of graph, a pie graph or something to pull out of his ass.
Hoarding all the matches on Tinder. 2. For the women in these two tiers, especially the mid-tier, in return for what they're...
That, though, okay, I get it. Like that, like those Stacys, that's generally what's all right, that's a 10 to somebody. Like, I'm not trying to be like, pointy elbows or anything, but really, to me, they're not that amazing. I'm just being real. I guess my definition of like a bad bitch is different. Cause like facially, they're not that amazing. Maybe like the second one to the right, she's like is the most facially attractive, but the other ones seem like heavily dependent on like makeup and lighting. To be honest, I think if you were to take away the makeup and the lighting and filters, if they have any, they might not even really be. But again, I get it for the sake of argument. But I'm just saying, to me, they're not like drop dead or anything like that. But my tastes tend to be different anyway.
Giving out,
Big butt.
They are demanding relationships and commitment from these top tier guys. However, the majority of these men are choosing not to cooperate as they don't want to settle with anyone below their level. 3. A minor caveat to this though is a fair amount of the top tier guys are happy and okay with getting in a long-term relationship with the highest value women. 4. The women in the middle's unremitting desire to lock down a
I'm just assuming. I'm assuming this is true. I have no idea what it's like to be a Chad. I have no idea what it's like to be a Chad. I'm all about normie and sub 5. That's my perspective.
Has a knock-on effect for the mid-tier average normie guys. Because in order for a woman in the middle to maintain her availability, it means she has to temporarily friend zone any non-Chad guys that approach her.
Yeah, so this is absolutely accurate. And like I said before, because guys tend to be more willing to date down, like for us, for a guy, it like even if you're an 8 or a 9 or so physically, like a 6, like a girl that's 6 could still be a great fuck. Like a 6 who can like who can get sloppy with you. A 6 who can give you the sloppy nasty shit. Like that right there it would be satisfactory to a lot of guys. That sloppy slop.
Which again, if you haven't realised by now, friend zoning is effectively the woman wanting to keep you in the background as an orbiter in case she starts running out of time and thinks she may miss out on her plans of wanting to start a family. In which case, she can hear men become desperate for the women who are rejecting them on their level, end up settling for the friend zone, for which they then become a source of emotional support, favours, and basically a shoulder to cry on.
I see this not a lot because I don't have a lot of I don't have a lot of friends, but I can't think of like one guy in particular that I know. He has quite a few female friends, and what I notice is like I'm not all in his business, but from what I hear and from what I see, like I would categorize him as being like normie, right? But he has quite a few female friends, and it seems like he's never the guy that they like. He's not like that super cool guy that they all want to fuck, right? Like it seems like a lot of them kind of fuck with him because he keep weed and shit like that. But he doesn't seem like the guy that's like, okay, everybody. But again, I'm not all in his business, so I don't know. But it just seems like that's kind of what he is. Like that's what he kind of reminds me of, like that normie guy that can be friends with girls, but he's never that Chad guy that they all want to fuck.
6. One of the biggest, if not the biggest, market force, both normies and sub-5 guys ferociously simp over the top tier women.
Yes. Look at the arrows. Yes, ferociously. When you look at like Instagram models, when you look at girls who even if it's something like Tinder, right? Whatever, like wherever there are girls, especially on social media, they tend to get a lot of attention, particularly because of their looks, particularly because of how they present themselves. Guys liking their pictures, leaving comments and shit like that, subscribing to their OnlyFans, if they have one, following them on Instagram, shit like that. So yeah, it's man, they get a nice stream of penis attention coming their way.
And in return, these women give a grand total of nothing back. Because after all...
Yes, a grand total of nothing back. Exactly.
That is the very definition of simping. A man mindlessly wasting his energy and resources on a woman for absolutely nothing in return that will benefit him. 7.
I watch a lot of porn, right? This is no secret. And every now and then I think about like leaving a comment on a video or something like that. And I'd be like, what's the point? Like, what's the point? Cause sometimes like if it's like a female, porn actress, I'm using that word loosely, actress, but, if it's a female porn actress, like she'll like talk to the fans and whatnot who leave comments and shit like that. And, my mind, like, when I think like that, I'm not thinking about simping, right? It's just, I leave comments on different shit anyway, like different types of stuff. But in particular, like, when I think about, like, even something like leaving a comment on, like, a porno video or something like that, it feels so stupid. It feels so stupid because, like, I think the difference is, like, you guys are my fans, right? But when you guys comment to me, like there's a certain amount of care to it, right? Like I listen to what you have to say. I'll think about it. I'll respond. Like I might even do like a 5-minute rant on like one comment or something like that, right? But with girls who are in that Stacy position, who get likes and comments on whatever they do, it's always like, oh, thanks, babe. Right? It's like 2 or 3 words or some shit like that, barely a sentence. And it kind of shows the difference in like how we perceive attention, right? They get so much attention. They can't like give you paragraphs and rants and shit over one comment. You're getting thanks, babe, love you, and that's it, right? But if you're like a fan of like a YouTuber or something, like a content creator, like a male content creator, and you comment and whatever, you might get a whole you might get a whole paragraph response or something like that. But that's a sign of like the difference of like the amounts of attention we get, because they can't afford to really take every comment seriously and respond to it individually, unless you say something amazing like, oh, I got $50,000 for you.
A surprisingly large number of the normie tier guys, out of pure desperation, lower themselves to trying with the women at the very bottom for one-night stands and casual intimacy.
Yes. I know one of my friends, his friends used to always say, pussy has no face, right? Basically saying like they had no regard for the way a girl looked. It was just I want to fuck bitches, right? And some guys are like that. Some guys they'll scrape the bottom, they'll scrape the bottom of the barrel, and then like lift the wooden panel from the bottom. Like they'll take the bottom out and start just digging in the dirt. Like some guys, like they'll reach that low. Some guys really just have no standards whatsoever, and yeah, they'll go ahead and they'll. But to each his own, right? But I ain't fucking troll bitches.
And the only reason they do this is because they've ruthlessly tried everywhere else and got no results.
Yeah.
8. These low-tier women in response become resentful of average guys for not wanting to commit to them. 9. I find this one the most hilarious. Women of all levels give the same treatment to sub-5 men, which is emotional reactions of disgust, pity, and abhorrence if any of these guys interact with their lives in any way, shape, or form.
Now, this point, I gotta kind of disagree with, because you have quite a few like sub-5 males and sub-5 girls that link up. I mean, let's be real. Like you go to Walmart, you see it all the time. Like he's 350 pounds, she's 320 pounds. Like they'll both be on like the little motor scooter or some shit like that. Look, I'm just saying you will see quite a few like sub-5 couples and shit like that. But at the same time, he does have a point, because when you look at things like girls who claim to be incels or femcels, as they would say, typically what'll happen is, like, let's say like those girls right there, like just those 4 girls, like if they were to go to 4chan and were like, I'm lonely, right? I need a boyfriend. And then those guys were the ones trying to talk to them. More than likely they would ignore them, because they're probably at least looking for like a normie type, right? That's just how girls tend to be.
It's gone as far as where sub-5 men don't even get the luxury of being friend-zoned. Sub-5s are being outcast altogether. And finally, 10.
And that's why you're seeing the incel movement, because it's the way dating is kind of shifting. It's like Chaz are taking everything, just taking everything. And a lot of normie guys, they're settling for the sub-5 women. And so the guys who are sub-5 or, bottom tier in regards to men, they are going to struggle immensely. At least some of them, right?
The only alternative for these bottom tier guys, which again is the same for all 3 tiers of women, is pathetically beta buxing to try grab hold of whatever they can get. For these guys, it's either that, moving abroad, having a miracle looks transformation, or living in a basement forever playing.
That guy, it looked like he got, now maybe it's the lighting. But it looked like his skin got lighter. But I think that's the lighting, right? Because he got a hat on, he's under a tree. But he must have had like some jaw surgery or something, and he looked like he got his teeth fixed, like he got braces, because his teeth are more like I'm not trying to pick, but his teeth are like spread out in the first picture, and in the second they seem more like closely fit together. And he grew out a nice beard, got a haircut grooming, right? But he had to have surgery. That's surgery right there, bro. Come on, what? Look at that neck. Maybe he just worked out a lot. I don't know. Mewing? I have no idea.
Video games all day. Anyway, this is my breakdown of what I believe to be how each group interacts with one another within the dating market.
Oh God, this is great. So, Chad and Stacy relationships. Normies give Stacy simping, get nothing in return. Normies get friend zone desperation with other normie level girls. And oh God, this is great. But I'm kind of, it's like normies one night stands with the ugly troll girls, incel sub-5 disgust on every level, disgust and beta bucks on every level. Chads one night stands with normie girls, friend zone. But I'll say this though, I think that also some Chads they will relationship normie girls. Like I think that's another point too. Like because again he said it himself. He's generalizing, but I just got to point it out. I do think that a lot of guys, because the competition for Stacy tier women is out of this world. Like really real shit. Sometimes being Chad is not enough. Like let's take that black guy for example, right? Okay, look, he looks handsome. He's clean cut, got his edge up and all that, nice beard, whatever. I'm assuming he has muscles, but maybe he makes like 80,000. I'm assuming. I don't know. He could be a billionaire, but let's say he makes 80,000 a year, right? And let's say he might be fucking 5'10", 5'11" or some shit, right? But he would still be basically like roughly a Tyrone or a Chad. But it's levels to this shit. Is a Stacy going to pick him over a guy that's 6'4" and has 1 million followers on Instagram and is making $500K a year? Like it's really levels to this shit. Sometimes even Chads have to settle because the competition for Stacy's is out of this world. Like, bruh, some of these girls be on yachts and shit, right? Just because you're handsome and over 6 feet tall and got a truck driving job or some shit, you know, that don't mean that you can compete at the highest level for those types of girls. Not at all. I'm not saying you can't get them, but I think even like basic Chads have to settle for normie girls sometimes too.
If you think I've left anything out or you have any disagreements, now is a good time to leave a comment with your thoughts before I move on to the next part of the video. Now moving on to answering the actual video title, which is how to know which category you fall into, sub 5, normie or Chad. Well, besides looking in the mirror, in my opinion, the number one way to tell which category you are in is how women react and respond to your behaviour and presence. When you was at school, if you were the guy that every girl gossiped about, that all the girls had a crush on, you were a Chad.
And see, I remember, and I'm sure I've talked about this guy before. It's funny because even me and my friend, we still talk about this guy because he was like legendary in our school. He was the absolute Chad. He was that guy. He was that guy that exactly what Wheat Waffles is talking about. That guy that all the girls talked about. And I'm sure I've told this story before, but I'll never forget it. I remember I was in art class. And it was a girl. And it's funny because this girl was like, she wasn't a Stacy. She was like normie tier, basically. Maybe even less than that. But don't get it twisted. He was known for fucking like the bad bitches, like fat ass, light skin, bad, sexy bitches, right? But just like what Wheat Waffles was saying, sometimes the Chads, they lower their standards towards like normie and even like, you know, damn near sub 5, right? And so this girl, she was like around norm. I would say like between normie and sub 5, somewhere around there. But she had a great ass. I remember that. She had a fantastic ass. But anyway, I was in art class and I was sitting by her and this other guy. And the guy, they were talking about the Chad dude. And he asked her, he said, I don't see what y'all see in this guy. Right? And I never forgot what she said. She said, oh, he got a big ass dick. Right? Like, and I that always stuck with me. That always stuck with me. But this guy, he was that. He was that dude, like the girl that you like, she liked him. Right? I remember in 5th grade, the girl that I liked, she liked him. And pretty much every other girl, if you like the girl, more than likely she liked him. But that face is like that's what he was in our school. He was that guy, right? And he was one of the first guys in our school to like get a girl pregnant or some shit like that. So it really, think about it, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. So we got to deal with shit like that. But I digress.
If you were the guy who was also gossiped about by girls, but for the wrong reasons, for being a creep or a weirdo, you were probably a sub 5 or just really socially inept.
And that was me. And when I was in school, I would say I was very socially inept. I wouldn't say I was a sub 5, but I was very socially inept. And so I think if girls were ever talking about me, it was because of how weird, how weird and unusual I was. But I think it was more so because I was socially inept. I wasn't anywhere near the specimen that I am today.
Anyway, for the guys on either extreme, the treatment they receive is easy to evaluate. But how about normies? At first, the answer may seem a little hard to identify, but I think I have a clean-cut answer to determine exactly if you're a normie. And again, it's based on how a group of girls will react to you. You will know you're a normie if out of a small group of girls, there'll be maybe one, at most two, that find you attractive. Meanwhile, all of the others will have a complete lack of interest towards you. How about some examples? Well, I've seen this play out in real life countless times. Whenever I hear girls argue about whether a guy is attractive or not, the guy in question is nearly always just some mid to high tier normie, and he'll usually have some niche quality about him that sets him apart from other plain basic normies. This might be curly hair, a slightly geeky appearance, or a gym obsession. And maybe I'll elaborate on this point about niche markets in a future video, because I myself have red hair. So I've actually found to be at the centre of these debates of attractiveness that groups of girls have. Anyway, going back to the main point. This normie treatment contrasts the other two tiers, because for any guy who is a Chad, there is no argument to be made. The consensus among any group of girls will be unanimous, in which they...
Or I would say almost unanimous. I get it. He said, I'm generalizing here, but I think sometimes you got to be careful with the language you use, because no guy is going to be attractive to every single girl. I mean, come on. But I get the point.
All agree the Chad is highly attractive. Actually, you might get one bitter girl who starts coping and deludes herself into thinking she doesn't like him, but in reality, we all know she'll only say this because she knows herself the guy is well out of her reach. Meanwhile, for the guy on the opposite end, the sub 5, again, all the girls will be in agreement. They will all collectively agree that he's creepy and undateable. Once more, no arguments to be made. Therefore, the unique situation of differing opinions only occurs for the guys in the middle. They are in the most flexible zone in terms of their perceived attractiveness. There's significantly more subjectivity at play for the guys in the middle than either of the guys at the very top or bottom. Some girls will find a given normie date-worthy, other girls won't. And for this reason, this is exactly why I see so many normies out there that are completely clueless about where they actually stand and their true attractiveness.
And see, that's an issue that I've always had. That's always been my issue, was that I never had a good sense of how attractive I was. I know I'm not Chad. I'm Chad Marco, but I'm not like, I get pussy Chad, right? Right? I'm not, girls actually like me Chad, right? I'm Chad rapper, okay? But I also knew I wasn't an incel. And so because of that, I always felt kind of confused about like my own attractiveness level and like the quality of girls that I could attract. But this video really kind of made me feel like, okay, that makes sense. And we're going to get to it. We're moving forward.
Half the time they get blinded by their own confirmation bias that because one or two girls over the course of a year has found them attractive, they then delude themselves into thinking they're an alpha male. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, the other half of the time they realise at best they get 2 to 3 matches a week on Tinder, none of whom even respond to his opening message, and then the guy concludes he's unattractive.
Well, see, I would say me personally, like, I don't really fit either of those extremes. As far as like my self-perception, I lean more towards the right, but not to the point of like, oh, I guess like no girls like me at all. I assume no girls like me, but I know that's not the truth. Ugly gorilla looking hoes. But I tend to lean more towards the right for sure. Like, I can't be, very attractive given the fact that I'm gonna get a lot of attention from women.
When in reality, in simple words as possible, it should be obvious you're a normie if few women, very few women, say 2 to 5%, find you attractive enough to consider dating. So for me, I know I'm a normie. I've never tried to deny it or say otherwise. I know most girls won't date me. They just don't find me that attractive. But I also know there will always be a small minority of girls out there who finds me attractive.
And see, that's been my exact experience. Is scattered throughout my life, there have been either girls who showed like a certain level of interest, like we would say choosing signals, light flirting and things like that. Everything from that to like more obvious overt flirting. But what I notice is that typically the more overt the girl is in her approach to me, as far as like expressing interest in me, the more aggressive they are, the more ugly they tend to be, the less attractive they tend to be. I do believe that some normie tier girls, never Stacy, but obviously, but I have noticed like there were different situations with like normie tier girls where I felt like I may or may not have been receiving choosing signals. But even then, I could have been wrong. And even if I was right, those situations were very, very few. And so when he says 2 to 5%, like that's so accurate to my situation, right? And so that's why I know like I'm in that normie category as far as attractiveness. Most girls don't like me, right? I think that's obvious. Most girls don't like me. But every now and then there will be, and typically they'll be fat gorilla hoes, right? But that only makes sense. But every now and then I'll run into one who shows me at least some level of interest. And rarely, and I mean super rare, I'm talking Mewtwo, Pokemon Blue Rare, rarely she might be halfway cute.
And in my experience, whenever I focused on those girls, the process has always been so smooth, so easy, no headaches, and I've almost never found myself in a position where I'm having to read signals or overanalyze texts.
Yes, and I've talked about this a billion times because it's the only time a halfway decent girl was throwing me pussy. But that cashier girl, when the one that was banging my friend but still trying to fuck me, it was so obvious that she liked me. Like it was no question. Like the way she looked at me, the amount of it, like she sought me out. I would go in the store and she would seek me out. She would stop what she would see me, stop what she was doing, and then go right to me and start talking to me. Right. That's when a girl likes you. That's when a girl really likes you. And the arm touching, things like that. Right. And so it was very obvious. And I know me personally, if I'm ever going to date a girl, it's going to have to be somebody like that. Not a hoe, right? Not a hoe, but somebody with that high level of interest. Because just like he said, like that experience kind of fucked me up. But it was a good experience all the same because it let me know that when a girl has a high interest in you, it's easy to deal with her, right? She was a hoe, but it was easy to deal with that hoe, right? I felt like it was okay to just be myself around her. I didn't feel like I had to impress her or jump through hoops, and that felt really nice. That was the best thing about those interactions with her, was that I felt like I was enough, and that was a great feeling. And I think that if I'm ever to date, it's got to be with a girl who displays like a high interest similar to that. But just like he says, when you focus on those girls, it might be rare, but the interactions are going to be smoother, easier, no headaches, ain't no, oh, what about this? You know that she likes you. And that's the Chad experience. The Chad experience is, and see, that's why I always talk about like the different perspectives. Like as beta males, we see dating from like a different perspective than alphas. That's why you only really see, again, this whole a man's job to approach a woman, that's beta talk. Because that's our perspective because we don't have no choice, right? You don't see Chaz and celebrities and rappers talking like, they don't talk about that bullshit because bitches be chasing after them, right? And so, but every now and then, even as a normie guy, you'll have a girl who treats you the way that Chad is typically treated, right? They'll display it when a girl likes you a lot. I'm not saying all the time, right? Because that whole, if a guy really likes you, that's not always true. So let's be real, because I've liked plenty of girls and never did shit. Like, right, when I like a girl, I go out of my way to pretend I don't even know she exists. So that's not always accurate, right? But sometimes when a girl really likes you, she'll make it abundantly clear.
Anyway, if you like this video, be sure to check out part 1 and check out my Fiverr page where I offer face ratings. Links to both will be in the description.
I always get rated a 4 to a 6. All right, so that was the Wheat Waffles video. I really love that video because it was kind of therapeutic for me. Because for years, I was always kind of stuck in this limbo of not really understanding like my own attractiveness level. And the way he broke it down in this video was it was so good. And, even I guess I kind of already knew that, again, I'm not an incel, but I'm not a Chad either. So it seems kind of like, okay, you already knew, but just knowing that somebody had those same experiences, right? Of like, for the most part, girls don't like you, but every now and then you'll run into one who just seems to have like just so randomly, you'll run into one who seems to have a high interest. And the vibe is completely different. It's not a feeling of I got to chase her, I got to impress her. Like the best way I can describe it, and what's so amazing about it, is that you just feel like you're enough. It's completely different. Like sometimes, I entertain the thought of what it would be like to talk to girls that I'm attracted to, right? What I would say, what I would do. And whenever I do that, it just reinforces the fact that I don't want to do it because there's just this underlying feeling of having to impress and show off and live up to some type of expectation. But when you're dealing with a girl who lets it be known that look nigga, I like you, I want you, it feels so good. It's so superior to the whole idea of chasing and trying to compete for a bitch. It feels so much better when you just know that the way you move and operate at that very moment is enough. Like that just feels very good. And that's obviously why a lot of girls don't want to be chasing after guys, because they know that too. Whether it's consciously or subconsciously, girls know too. Like that's a great feeling when somebody obviously likes you and you're just comfortably in your space, right? Just being you, just being yourself. Nothing beats that. Nothing beats that. But 2 to 5%. I think that's very accurate. That's a very accurate number. And when I just look at the whole course of my life and just the overwhelmingly girls don't like me, but every now and then, it'll be that one, and it's just like, okay, but that's the normie experience. Okay, so that was the Wheat Waffles video. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Make sure you check out his channel and tell him not to sue me for reviewing his video. He seems cool though. I'm just playing. But yeah, he has great black pill content. And the thing about it too is that his content isn't like depressing. Like he takes a very analytical, scientific approach to it. So like when I watch his videos, it's not like woe is me type shit. It's just he's just looking at dating for what it is. It's an unfair game that favors the genetically superior. I mean, it's that simple. It ain't fucking rocket science.